we're happy with the outcome.
In Operation Crime and Justice, a Nashville jury finds former Titan scout Blaise Taylor guilty of fatally poisoning his girlfriend, Jade Benning, and their unborn child. Fox 17 News' Karen Aguilar is breaking down the verdict after speaking to the victim's family.
Jurors deliberated for about 2 hours before they convicted Blaise Taylor of murder. Jade Benning's family feels so much relief while Taylor remained stone-faced inside the courtroom.
Guilty.
A Davidson County jury finds former Titan scout Blaise Taylor guilty of killing Jade Benning and her unborn daughter. Benning's family hugging inside the courtroom in tears. Benning's father, Dennis Browning, says he has been waiting for this moment for a long time.
Definitely glad that, everything's over and justice was served.
And so has Bridget Burks, Benning's mom.
1 whole year we lived in silent pain. But we're just very glad we finally got the justice.
Metro Police say Taylor poisoned Benning with cocaine in 2023 at her apartment in Nashville.
She was nearly 24 weeks pregnant. She was in love. She had given her baby a name, Ivy. And on the evening of February the 25th, 2023, she sat across from the man who was supposed to be the father of her child on a date night in her own Nashville apartment. And she reached for her pink lemonade. She didn't know what was in it. She didn't know that the man sitting across from her had dissolved cocaine in alcohol and poured it into her glass. She found out when she called a friend and said the words that should have saved her. I know you put something in my drink because I can't even walk straight. I can't even feel my legs. You did this so something would happen to the baby. She knew. She knew in those final conscious moments exactly what he had done to her. And then Jade Benning collapsed. Welcome to Midnight Case Files. Tonight we are in Nashville, Tennessee. And the story of Jade Benning, the woman who died on her own 25th birthday from a poisoned glass of pink lemonade, is one of the most calculated, cold-blooded acts of intimate partner violence this country has seen in years. On July the 1st, 2026, after 3 years, a jury gave Jade and her daughter Ivy the only thing left to give them: justice. Stay with me. Before we talk about what was done to Jade Benning, I want to talk about who she was. Because Jade Benning was not just a victim in a courtroom. She was a 24-year-old woman living her life in Nashville, Tennessee. A woman who had named her unborn daughter Ivy. A woman who was nearly 6 months pregnant and building something. Her family called her a person with a radiant soul. And that phrase, radiant soul, is not the kind of thing families say for the cameras. That is the language of people who knew someone whose light genuinely filled a room. Her father, Dennis Browning, has been by her side through every step of this 3-year journey, from the night she was rushed to Vanderbilt University Medical Center to the moment the verdict was read in a Nashville courtroom on July the 1st. He sat through 7 days of testimony and closing arguments. He sat through every detail of what was allegedly done to his daughter. He sat through every defense argument that tried to suggest Jade had done this to herself. He sat through all of it. And when the jury came back guilty on all 4 counts, Dennis Browning told Fox 17 News, "Definitely glad everything is over and justice is served." Justice is served. 3 years. And 4 words. Her mother, Bridget Burks, spoke to the court during the trial and said something that stopped the courtroom cold. She said, "It's just a void that will always be there." When asked if her day-to-day life was different without Jade, Burke said, "Most of the time people ask, 'Are you okay?' I say yes, but behind closed doors, I'm not. Behind closed doors, I'm not." That is the truth that never makes it into headlines. The private grief of a mother who lost her daughter and her granddaughter in the same week. Who got up every morning for 3 years and said yes to the world while quietly carrying something that words cannot hold. Jade Benning had a radiant soul, and Blaise Taylor allegedly decided that soul was expendable. If you are watching Midnight Case Files for the first time tonight, we sit in the stories that deserve more than a 30-second verdict clip. We say the names. We feel the weight.
Hit subscribe.
Hit the bell. Jade and Ivy deserve a full audience tonight. Stay with me. Blaise Taylor, 30 years old, originally from Waco, Texas. The son of Trooper Taylor, a cornerback coach at Arkansas State University. A family with deep roots in football and discipline, in the kind of household where community members reportedly came to his mother to say how much respect they had for her son. His mother, Dr. Evelyn Taylor, took the stand during the trial, and she did not speak about the case. She spoke about her son's character. She said, "A lot of parents would come to me and tell me how much respect they had for him. He was a good student in the classroom and in sports. He was the type of boy they wanted their children to hang around. He never got into any trouble. He was very respectful. A good student. Respectful. The type of boy other parents wanted their children around." Blaise Taylor played defensive back at Arkansas State between 2014 and 2017. He was selected to play in the NFLPA Collegiate Bowl in January 2018. And he went on to work for the Tennessee Titans as a scout for 4 years. He was later employed as a senior defensive analyst at Utah State University. A professional football background, an NFL organization, a career built on trust, on evaluation, on the careful assessment of people. And allegedly, on February the 25th, 2023, he sat across from his pregnant girlfriend on a date night in her Nashville apartment and put cocaine in her pink lemonade because he did not want to be a father. Let me walk you through exactly what prosecutors said happened that February evening, because every detail matters. Nashville Assistant District Attorney Jan Norman laid out the prosecution's case with absolute clarity in closing arguments. She said, "He goes over there to the date night with cocaine to put in her drink. He went there with the cocaine. He did not arrive at Jade's apartment and make an impulsive decision in a moment of panic. He allegedly arrived at that date night already carrying the cocaine, already knowing what he was going to do, already having dissolved it in alcohol to make it easier to mix into her drink without her noticing." Prosecutors said Taylor did not want to be a father and placed a lethal dose of cocaine in Benning's drink during that date night. The prosecution also referenced testimony from a friend of Taylor's who took the stand and revealed something that should shock anyone listening. Jan Norman said, her testimony was she had to talk him out of putting something in another girl's drink who was refusing to have an abortion so that he could cause the abortion without her knowing. Read that again. There was a previous incident, a previous woman, a previous pregnancy, and someone who knew Taylor allegedly had to talk him out of doing the exact same thing to a different woman before Jade Benning. He had thought about this before. Jade Benning was not the first woman he considered poisoning. She was just the one where nobody talked him out of it. Hit that like button right now. Jade Benning was 24 years old. She had named her daughter Ivy. She deserves for this story to reach every single person on this platform. Hit like and keep watching. After Jade collapsed in her apartment, Blaise Taylor called 911. That call was played in the courtroom during the trial. And what he told the dispatcher tells you everything you need to know about the calculation behind this crime. He told 911 dispatchers he believed Jade was having an allergic reaction to food. An allergic reaction to food. The dispatcher asked him if she was experiencing any typical symptoms of a severe allergic reaction: swelling, rash, hives, redness. He said no. She wasn't experiencing any of those symptoms. But she was not responding. She appeared to be vomiting. Think about what he was doing in that moment. He was not a panicked boyfriend who didn't know what was happening. He was a man who knew exactly what was happening to Jade Benning because he had put cocaine in her drink, and he was feeding a 911 dispatcher a story designed to make investigators look in the wrong direction.
No rash, no swelling, no hives.
None of the symptoms of the story he was telling, because the real story was cocaine in a glass of pink lemonade. While Taylor was on that call with 911 dispatchers, Jade Benning had already spoken to her friend Najihah Jackson. Najihah Jackson testified in court about that phone call. She said, she was like, "I know you put something in my drink because I can't even walk straight." She was just saying that she couldn't feel her legs. She said, "You did this so something would happen to the baby." Jade Benning knew. In those final conscious moments, paralyzed, unable to feel her legs, knowing her body was shutting down, she knew what he had done, and she said it out loud. Detectives were never able to interview Jade before she died. She was clinically dead before the ambulance reached the hospital. But Najihah Jackson was listening on that call. And 3 years later, She took a seat in a Nashville courtroom and told the jury exactly what Jade Benning said. "I need to stop here and talk about Ivy, Jade Benning's daughter, named before she was born, nearly 24 weeks along, a baby girl who was, by every measure, a person already loved, already named, already anticipated." Jade was rushed to Vanderbilt University Medical Center on the night of February the 25th. Her medical condition became immediately critical. On February the 27th, Ivy died, 2 days after the poisoning. And then on March the 6th, 2023, after 9 days on life support, Jade Benning was taken off life support. March the 6th, 2023, her 25th birthday. She died on her own birthday, after 9 days of machines keeping her alive in a hospital where detectives could not reach her in time to ask what happened. After 9 days of her family sitting in a waiting room carrying a grief that no human being should have to carry. She was 24 when she drank that pink lemonade. She was 25 when she died. She never got to hold Ivy. Ivy never took a breath outside her mother's womb. Blaise Taylor is charged with their deaths as 2 separate counts of murder, because they were 2 separate lives, 2 separate people, 2 separate losses, 2 separate names that a Nashville jury wrote in their verdict on July the 1st, 2026.
Guilty, 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 guilty.
4 counts. All guilty. Midnight Case Files is going to follow Blaise Taylor's sentencing every step of the way. Subscribe right now and hit that bell. His sentencing is coming in September, and when it does, we will be here. The trial of Blaise Taylor began on June the 22nd, 2026 in Davidson County, Nashville, Tennessee. 9 days. 7 days of testimony. Closing arguments on the 8th day. Verdict on the 9th. Taylor pleaded not guilty to 2 counts of first-degree murder and 2 counts of felony murder. His defense attorney Quinones Hollins mounted an aggressive defense. She argued that the timing was improbable for Taylor to premeditate the poisoning. She told the jury, "So now the spontaneous plan is 350. He has 3 hours to cook up the elaborate plan to kill her." She pointed to testimony from Davidson County Medical Examiner Dr. Aaron Carney, arguing that the medical examiner could not definitively determine the manner of death. She told the jury, she couldn't figure out what the manner of death was. And she made the argument that has become the cornerstone of the planned appeal. There was only one person involved with drugs, and it wasn't Blaise. The prosecution was unequivocal in response. Jan Norman stood before that jury and said, Jade Benning did not want to harm herself or her baby. A woman who had named her daughter Ivy. A woman who was nearly 6 months pregnant. A woman who called her friend in her final conscious moments and said, "You did this so something would happen to the baby." Jade Benning did not do this to herself. After 3 hours of deliberation, the jury agreed. Guilty of second-degree murder in the death of Jade Benning. Guilty of first-degree premeditated murder in the death of Ivy. Guilty on 2 counts of felony murder. 4 guilty verdicts. Life in prison recommended by the jury. Taylor will not be eligible for parole for 51 years. His bond was revoked immediately following the verdict. His sentencing is scheduled for September of this year before the Davidson County Court. Following the verdict, Taylor's legal team released a statement that every outlet from WSMV to WKRN to Fox 17 published in full. They said, "While we respect the jury system and the process, we must also respectfully disagree with today's verdict and plan to appeal the decision because Blaise did not do this. He maintains that he is innocent, and we will continue working to prove that. We understand and respect the pain that Ms. Benning's family and friends feel over her tragic death and the death of her unborn baby, but putting an innocent man behind bars is also a tragedy. An appeal is coming. That is confirmed. Whether that appeal succeeds is another question entirely. Appeals in Tennessee first-degree murder cases face an extraordinarily high bar. The defense will need to identify a specific legal error in how the jury was instructed, in how evidence was admitted, or in prosecutorial conduct, to have any realistic chance of overturning 4 guilty verdicts. What the defense is going for it is the medical examiner's testimony. If Dr. Aaron Carney could not definitively establish the manner of death, that is a thread a skilled appellate attorney can pull. What the defense does not have is an explanation for Jade Benning's final phone call, for Najihah Jackson's testimony, for the prior incident where someone had to talk Taylor out of putting something in another woman's drink. Those three things are not easy threads to pull. Before you leave tonight, I want you to think about a glass of pink lemonade, the most ordinary thing in the world, something you pour for someone you love on a date night without a second thought. Jade Benning reached for that glass, and she never recovered. She died on her 25th birthday after 9 days in Vanderbilt University Medical Center. Her daughter, Ivy, died 2 days before her, and the man who was supposed to be their family fled to Utah. He was arrested 14 months later. He stood trial 3 years after her death. And on July the 1st, 2026, Jade's father, Dennis Browning, sat in that Nashville courtroom and said 4 words that cost him 3 years of his life to earn. Justice is served. Blaise Taylor will be sentenced in September. Midnight Case Files will be there. Drop in the comments, do you think the appeal will succeed? And do you think life with the possibility of parole in 51 years is justice enough for Jade and Ivy? I want every single one of your thoughts. Like this video. Share it. Subscribe to Midnight Case Files if you haven't already. And say their names. Jade Benning, 25 years old, Nashville, Tennessee. And Ivy, who never got to breathe. This is Midnight Case Files.